Welcome to this episode of the Preeminence Autumn Life Upgrade, a holistic approach to giving your life, your business, your well-being, your money, everything a super boost and a lot of vitamins at this time of the year as we transition. The context is that we entered the year after coming out of a pandemic and we thought, okay, here we go, we're back to normal. Although we didn't even know what normal was anymore. So it has been quite a choppy year for many people. However, as entrepreneurs, we threw ourselves in with our goals and dreams because that's what drives us. And especially as women, knowing our big place in the world right now, we have already arrived at September. So amazing. I thought it was just like Christmas last week. So today I have brought in one of my executive contributors in the magazine, Preeminence magazine, and we're going to talk from the point of view of wellness, your body, and what you could do to have some breakthroughs between now and the end of the year. So without further ado, I'd love you to welcome with me Loretta Ferrucci. Welcome, Loretta.
Hi, Jenny.
My resident holistic wellness expert. And I would love to ask you, first of all, what's this been like so far for you?
This year I'm thinking about the normal and the back to normal. So when lockdown started, when this pandemic really happened in March 2020, we had our lockdown. I launched my online business, and I must say that I feel as if 2022 has been a much freer year. It's been a much more open kind of year, but it's also been a little bit more of the same of what I had in. So 2020, 2021 was very intense for me. 2022 has been a little bit easier from the point of view that it's felt a bit more expansive and a bit more open. It's been extremely busy of my own making. So, I mean, not necessarily busy like millions of clients, but enough clients to keep the wool from the door, which has been great. But yeah, it's been very much a year of trying to decide what actually is not the new normal, but like, what is it that I need to declutter? What is it that's not working in my life? You know, just like the pandemic brought everything to a halt. Like, so if I could just stop my life, like, where do I have to revalue? How am I cleaning out the closet? And I hate cleaning. I just want to tell you, I'm not good at tidying and sorting. So it's a little bit challenging. It's also like, how are things working in my business? What have I settled for and what no longer works? And how do I have to change? So lots of change, lots of clean out, the difficulties that go with that. But also, I think, like really a lot of blessings and support, actually. So, I mean, you know, I know that years are always a balance of good and bad because, you know, it's actually neutral, right? It all just depends on how we judge it. And so I never really think of like, did I have a good year or did I have a bad year, unless there was some obvious disaster. And so far, I'd have to say I'm leaning on the side of good. I'm not hugely a fan of this heading down towards Christmas because, you know, Christmas is our holiday time. Like December is when everything stops here and it's summertime, and it's just the Christmas on top of that just makes it frenzied. So I think I'm just going to hermit for the 3 weeks over Christmas if I can sort that out.
Awesome. I love the way that you brought in the decluttering and the sorting and the reevaluation that seems to be the theme of this year for many people, of actually, what do I really want? Because that's what was the pandemic was. I mean, that was absolute focus on like what really matters now. What right. You know, like, okay, my choices are limited. What really matters now? And actually, you and I both know how important well-being is. One of the things that comes up absolutely, you know, top of the list in that. So I absolutely get it that it felt a little bit more freeing and expansive when we finally got to come out and you know, and start our projects up again. So I would love you to share a few insights on anybody, wherever they are right now, with whatever state of health and well-being and homeostasis and whatever that looks like for them. What would be the biggest thing that they can optimize to get a breakthrough now? Because many people, they get this far in the year, they've forgotten their goals, they've forgotten all of their good intentions. As you say, we're heading towards Christmas and feasting and harvest feasts as well. And well, in our part of the world, eating for winter. So many people's good intentions and habits kind of slide a little bit over the year. So what would be the kind of shake up that you would you'd probably given giving yourself one, I should imagine. How have you reevaluated your wellness?
I think one of the things that as you said, the pandemic has made us, has forced us to appreciate what's important. And even though we've come into this expansion, so I think what I did was consciously, I was like, well, I don't want to go back to the old normal. We have this opportunity to create, and I don't even want to create normal. I just have the opportunity to create something new. So it's interesting because I realized earlier this year that I have a massive attachment to what I perceive as being strong. So I seldom get sick. Okay. So, I mean, it's not like I haven't been sick. I've had all sorts of things. I have had gallstones and kidney stones. And first of all, I completely downplay illness when I have it. And I don't often get sort of infections, but I got sick in, I don't know, June. I think actually it probably was COVID, but I just quarantined and didn't have to test it. And I had a lot of that sort of post muscle fatigue. And I've generally got lots of energy. And so that really sort of set me back. And what it did was it made me appreciate how absolutely addicted I am to this concept of being strong, being tough, and being able to like push through, because I actually just couldn't. So I rested a lot. And ironically, still managed to get quite a lot, like as in I still ran my business. I thought I was totally goofing off. And when I look back, I was like, hey, I probably did half the normal, busy, crazy shit that I don't need to do. And everything still managed to get done, which was a huge eye-opener for me. But one of the things that really struck me after that was, so I told you I do pole fitness, right? And I find it incredibly challenging and it's hard, right? Because there's quite a lot of me that I have to haul up the pole. And I was reluctant to get back into it. And because I had all this like, oh, I'm not going to be as strong, I'm not going to be as fit, and I'm not going to be able to do the things I could do. And, I found climbing so hard before, and now I'm definitely not going to be able to climb. And in fact, my instructor said something. She said that in athlete, like a world famous sportsman, that her mother was training to be an Olympic athlete. And they taught them that you have your power mind, and your power mind is not really the strong part. Your power mind is the part of you that's going to keep on telling you why you can't do what you want to do. And your power mind is constantly going to set the bar at where you left off. And so because you've set the bar, so in other words, 6 weeks after my last pole fitness session, if I went into my pole room and expected myself to be able to do what I could do 6 weeks before, I was already setting myself up for failure, which is one of the reasons why I didn't want to go back, because I knew I couldn't do it. And in actual fact, what she said was, take it right back down to imagining you in your very, very first class. And I remember what we did in the first class, and just see if you can do that. And if you can do that, what happens is you start closing the gap between your power mind and reality. And so the one of the primary things is that, if you did set an intention that you were going to be, I don't know, super fit or super healthy or whatever you were going to do, and you managed to put it off for a couple months, because willpower usually on its own lasts for about 6 months. And then you sort of felt the wheels falling off. And now you are wanting to get back on whatever wagon it is you want to get back on. The thing that's going to sabotage you the most is comparing and competing with yourself in terms of where you were. It's going to stop you from taking any action, which means you're actually just not going to do anything. So that's where I was in the pole class. And my instructor was overseas. She was stuck in this hell of like the no flights out of Europe, and was supposed to come back and then didn't come back, and then did this like online, oh my God, I'm so sorry I'm not there here, guys. And the first 10 minutes was this thing about the power. I was like, oh my gosh, actually someone just read my mind. And the minute I actually just dialed down everything by at least 3 or 4 notches, my expectations, suddenly I could actually do that. And so the next time I could dial it up a little bit, and then I could dial it up a little bit. And then I remembered why I actually love this, rather than not wanting to do it at all. So So if you feel that, it's been holiday time, if you're in Europe, or, you've been traveling, you haven't been exercising, whatever it is that you haven't been doing, first of all, there's no competition. No one's getting a gold star for eating clean or exercising or whatever it is that you think you need to be doing. And secondly, don't compare yourself to where you were before. Start like a beginner. Have that beginner's mind, because the beginner's mind is going to allow you to start taking an action. So if you could run 5Ks, but now you can't run 5Ks, but you can walk 3, well, it's better to walk 3 than not do any. So just start walking the 3, and before you know it, you'll walk the 4 and the 5, and then you can run 1 or 2, and so on and so forth. So just be aware that there's a part of your mind that's always going to tell you that the reason why you can't do it is because you're not going to be as good as you were. So of course, it's even worse when you compare yourself to someone else, but mostly you're comparing yourself to yourself. So that would be my biggest, that was certainly one of my biggest ahas, and it happened in July. It's like, oh my word, actually, it doesn't matter. Why am I actually doing this? So that would be my number one piece of advice.
Yeah, that is absolute gold, Loretta, absolute gold. I am taking notes. I'm taking mental notes because I am the first one to notice, first of all, if I haven't made constant progress, it gets my attention, and then I'll find reasons, and then I'll find mostly judgment. Like, oh, well, I should have done that, or I should have done that, or I need to do this more, or I need to do it harder, or I need to do it stronger. And I love that. I love that the way that you talk about closing the gap, whereby whether you dial it back and then have the rewards, and also with the dopamine rewards of just a little bit of achievement, and then another little bit of achievement, and another little bit, that it actually starts to build back up, and probably you'll get back up to that former level far faster than if you decide to hustle it through and go, okay, right, this is it, I'm throwing down the gauntlet, I'm just going for it. I need to go out every single morning now and trail run through the woods. It's the only way.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, suffer, and then be really stiff, and if I can add to that, the second part of that is to remember why you want to do it in the first place, because your focus creates your reality. So if I could just use my pole example again, I have a choice around pole fitness. So quite frankly, I'm a pole champion. I don't do it for anyone else. I choose my end result with pole fitness is I choose the end result of soaring to fun and freedom on the pole, because that's how it makes me feel. I want it to be fun and free. But when I'm focusing on trying to make it perfect, I've completely forgotten about the fun and freedom. And what happens then is I get so in my head that I can't do anything. So when you remind yourself why, so if you need to go on the run because, I don't know, you gained 2 pounds and you have to lose the 2 pounds, your focus is on punishing yourself because you gained 2 pounds. Your focus is not on, I'd love to have a healthy, fit, vital body. That's not what you're focusing on. Now, it might sound like splitting hairs because you're taking the same action, but truly where your focus is going to determine the result you're going to get. It's also going to determine whether you're going to take the action or not. So when I went into that first class, I didn't even try and climb the pole because it took me almost 9 months to be able to climb to the top of the damn thing. Okay. So I was like, I'm going to do that because that's too hard right now. This is my first comeback session. And in the second one, I just took one step up. And in the third one, I climbed all the way to the top. It's like, hey, check, I can still climb this pole. Like 7 days later. So, it wasn't 7 weeks after I first did it. It was only 7 days after, and it was fine. So the minute I remembered why am I doing this? I'm not doing this to lose 10 pounds. I'm not doing this to fix my broken body. I'm doing this because I love what this feels like. And I love the sense of freedom and fun of being able to, because it's like play. Suddenly, it became much simpler and much easier. Because if you're doing it to fix, if you're focusing on fixing, your focus is on the problem. And then it becomes punishing. And who wants to be punished? No one wakes up in the morning and goes, I'm getting up for my punishment. But you know what, if you're getting up for what you love, of course you're going to be doing it. And you may not love every minute of the run or the pole session or whatever, because it's hard, but because your focus is on the outcome, not the 2 pounds, but the health, or the, you know, not the climbing to the top of the pole, but that sense of freedom of being able to do the spins, because the climbs make you stronger for the spins, or being able to hang upside down. You can't hang upside down if you can't climb to the top. The hanging upside down is like, wow, this is so amazing. And so the climbing to the top is just a means to the amazeballness of us. And so that's where, you know, if you can focus on the why, on the, like, what is it? How do you want it to make you feel? Why are you doing it? Like from a place of nurture rather than a place of punishment, then you're going to be much less likely to find all the reasons why doing it's not a great idea.
And of course, the body's got the body has a cellular memory. So once we've sort like you said, it didn't take you another 7 weeks to get back into climbing up the pole. It took you 7 days, because by the third day, once you'd sorted this out, your body remembered what to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it was all still there. It was all still there in the muscle memory. So it's important that we have the focus on the what is it that you're trying to achieve. Now, you know, you might say, yes, well, I actually am trying to achieve the 2 pounds. Well, okay, well, is it really about the 2 pounds? Because if it's about the 2 pounds, your focus is on what's wrong. There's no acceptance in that. There's all that judginess in that, you know, and all you do is you're just widening the gap. Whereas when you focus on, you know, I want to be fitter, or literally, I just want to be able to climb to the top of the pole. It's got nothing to do with how many pounds you have to take up to the top of the pole, right? It's got to do with what is the outcome that you're going for in terms of how it's going to make you feel. And that becomes a lot more nourishing, because, as I said, no one's ever punished themselves to health. And so, unfortunately, when we do this fall off the wagon thing, that's one of the things that the power mind says, oh, you see, you're such a slob. You fell off the wagon. You said you weren't going to, but look at what you did. And you had too many martinis at the pool, and you should have gone for a run. And you did all those things you didn't do. That's just to punish you into taking some sort of action to, like, punish yourself back to being okay. I don't know. There are better ways to do it. Yeah, there are more nurturing ways to do it than that.
I know this is the core of your work, is this relationship that you have with the body, and how our expectations can really sabotage the things that we want, and the comparison and all sorts of things. Mm-hmm. And thank you for just making that so easy. Thank you. and so I just realized, like, oh, we could just like breathe. just breathe. Yeah. And also that you mentioned that we want the feeling of the outcome. We want to be fitter, we want to be in better condition, I don't know, or we want to feel pretty enough that we're going to attract a new mate or something, but there's a lightness about it that we can also embody, and just keep repeating that lightness rather than thinking I still can't get into my jeans.
Yeah, the thing is, you see, your focus creates your reality, right? So if you're feeling as if you're ugly, and so now you see, you might say, well, actually going for a run and losing the 5 pounds or whatever is going to fix my problem. The truth is that the fact that you think you're ugly because you have 5 extra pounds is the problem. It's actually not the 5 extra pounds. It's the idea that you don't measure up, or you're never going to get a mate because you've got the 5 or the 10, or, you know, I'm just picking pounds. It can be anything, all right? So you've got the 5 extra pounds. And so you see that as something that's wrong with you that you need to fix. And the more you're focusing on fixing, you think you're focusing on the solution, but you're actually focusing on the problem, which is the extra 5 pounds, which means that you may well lose the 5 pounds, but I can guarantee you're going to regain the 5 pounds. You may even regain 7, and you might not regain them in the next 6 months, but, you know, next year, this time, we're going to be having the same conversation. And so when we start treating ourselves as if, you know, I always say to my clients, imagine you're your own toddler, and your toddler comes to you and says, Mom, I'm so hungry. You wouldn't say, I think you should just have some water. You're probably just thirsty because actually you shouldn't be eating so much because you've already eaten too many calories today. I mean, for God's sake, I hope you wouldn't speak to your toddler like that. Okay. So why would you speak to yourself like that? So when you start treating yourself as if you are a beloved pet, a beloved child, a beloved whatever, it doesn't. So I mean, I've had a toddler. You don't let the toddler get, she says, Mom, I'm really starving. Please, can I have ice cream? You go, yeah, you can have ice cream whenever you want. So of course there are boundaries, right? But you definitely don't say, you're a fat pig, you ate too much over the holidays. So no, you're not getting any food. Why would you speak to yourself like that? So it's important that we change from this masculine, and there's nothing wrong with masculine, but masculinity, the masculine approach is very linear and it can be very punitive. It's like that wait until your father comes home kind of thing. Okay. Sorry to all the men. It's just an example, right? It can be very punitive, whereas, the masculine is the one that takes the action. But you know what? Your masculine side is not going to take the action if you don't allow your feminine side to connect to what is it that you need to nourish yourself deeply. So, if you wake up, you've done 3 trail runs and you are as stiff as anything and you've got lactic acid everywhere and your body hurts. And now you're going to drive yourself out of bed this morning. If you really just tapped in and asked yourself, like, what would really nourish you right now? Well, actually, maybe just going for a little walk today, or maybe actually just having a rest day. That might be incredibly nourishing. And that does all sorts of things to your stress hormones, and it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. And physiologically, a whole lot of things happen when we force ourselves to punish and when we nourish. And then the action that we take, if we make the decision from a nourishing point of view, it becomes much easier to take the action. And that's when we have our own feminine and masculine working together. The feminine says, I'm hungry. The masculine says, let's have a snack. What shall we have? The feminine says, oh, I really feel like a sandwich. The masculine says, yeah, great. Come, let's go and make the sandwich. And then literally we marrying those parts of ourselves. And then we're marrying, we're allowing our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system, which represent the masculine and the feminine, also to come into balance. And then our immune system comes into balance. And then your hormones come into balance and everything starts falling into place.
Oh, you just answered my next question, actually.
Sorry.
You just answered my next question, because that kind of marrying, as you said, and balancing the both approaches, the okay, it is time to take some action on this. To actually, I really would just like to spend the day in my pajamas. They can have their extremes, because as women who love flow, and they love nurturing, and they love softness, and they love their pajamas generally, they can find that 3 weeks or 3 months or 3 years or 30 years has gone past, and that part, that nurturing part, has rather dominated. And so how do we balance these two? I totally get it, that the yin with the yang, because this is really key for me. I think this is a really beautiful point to talk about.
So I think, look, there's 2 ways of looking at it. So the woman who metaphorically has spent 20 years in her pajamas, or however long, right? You could look at that as the ultimate act of nourishing. But you know what? We are here, I believe, our purpose is to engage fully with life. So if you spent 30 years in your pajamas, you are not engaging fully with life. There's no doubt about that. And so is that truly nurturing? Or once again, have you made the gap too big between what you think you should be doing and what you are capable of doing, right? So it's closing the gap, right, between the power mind and your conscious mind, essentially. And so sometimes what looks like you might have been nourishing could actually have been punishing, could have been, but I totally get what you're saying. There's a fine line between what is just back to the autonomic nervous system. Sorry, so we're going to take it to the body, right? So your autonomic nervous system is the part of your nervous system that governs all the automatic functions in your body. Your digestive enzyme production, whether you ovulate, what your hormones are doing, what your immune system is doing, those are your neurotransmitters. Anything you don't have to think about, which is just about everything other than moving your body, is governed by your autonomic nervous system. And your autonomic nervous system has two parts. The sympathetic, which is alert, more active in the day, helps you stick to deadlines. It helps you to drive a car. It's the more sort of rational thinking, doing part. It's the more masculine part. And then you have your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest and restore part, right? So sympathetic, we know, is the fight, flight, or freeze, which sounds awful. And rest, digest, and restore sounds amazing, okay? So the truth is, most of us, and especially if we are what I'm going to call an ambitious woman, so, women who are doing things in their family or making differences in the world or whatever it is that we're doing. And because we live in such a masculinely oriented world, we tend to be sympathetic dominant. So our sympathetic nervous system is turned on full on all the time, and our parasympathetic nervous system is lagging a little bit behind. So, however, we don't want to demonize either of them, and we don't want to actually make it sound like the parasympathetic is awesome and the sympathetic is awful, because you need them both. And so for me, the key is, what would nourish me optimally right now, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically? Now, sometimes, look, your mind, difficult to rely on your mind because it's a trickster. But if you don't ask yourself that question, you're never going to get an answer. So you might not get the correct answer initially, but if you keep on asking the question and really connecting into what that is, dialing into what that is, I often will go like, what would be, so I also like wake up in the morning and go, oh, I don't feel like exercising today. So I've learned now, actually, Rita, what would nourish you optimally right now? And then I think about, well, what would the exercise feel like? And what would it feel like afterwards? And then I check in with my body. How does my body feel? If I'm really stiff and really sore and really tired, I'm like, actually, what would nourish me optimally right now is to dial the exercise down. Definitely not a session on the pole, definitely a walk with the dog on the beach for, I don't know, 2 kilometers or something. So we can't find the balance outside. Actually, that's the point I'm trying to make. The balance, we have to start asking ourselves the questions and getting used to asking the question and listening attentively for the answer, which sounds like a very sort of airy-fairy thing to say. But quite frankly, if you never ask yourself, you're never going to find out whether you can trust the answer or not. So a teacher of mine, Dr. John DeMartini, he said, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask. And those are the questions we have to ask ourselves. Because if I think to myself, well, if I think about what does my personal trainer think is balance? Well, I don't know, my personal trainer, I don't have one at the moment, but she probably thinks like exercising 3 times a week like a maniac for an hour until I can barely breathe is normal. And like the stiffer you are, the better it is. Well, that's her frame of reference. Well, what's my frame of reference? And then that is that checking in with ourselves. And we don't trust ourselves enough. Because we're so tuned into external validation and what we should, actually, when you use imperative language, I must, I should, I need, I ought, it probably isn't anything that's important enough for you because you haven't managed to make it important enough. So if you don't know how to do that, I mean, there are tricks on how to do that, but essentially, like I need to look a certain way. Well, do I really need to? Who's telling me that I need to? If I was the only human on the whole earth, would I think my extra 5 pounds are bad? Well, no, I think I look fine because I'd have no one else to compare myself to, right? So what am I really doing? And it might sound like, well, Loretta, this is going to take forever. Well, actually, it doesn't take forever. It just takes you to ask yourself one question. So one question and go with the answer. Like, am I really hungry right now or am I just bored? Really hungry. How do you know? Well, I can feel it. My stomach's like empty. Okay, well, what's the solution to that? I think eating. What do you really feel like? If you're really hungry, you're going to really feel like food. Some sort of food. Okay, so how about we go and eat some of that food really mindfully and enjoy it and like love every bite without trying to judge it, not having a moral judgment. It's the same about the exercise. I think that we are fooled by the idea that we think it's our own idea. It's not our own idea. It's ideas that we've taken from everyone else because we've completely disconnected from being able to listen to this. So how do we achieve the balance? We start asking ourselves the question, start practicing. is this nourishing or punishing? Sometimes I ask myself that question, I get it wrong, right? So I get out there and I'm not really a runner, but I'm like, oh, I'm more of a shuffler. Like, okay, I'm going to go shuffle for a couple of kilometers. Honestly, I'm like 1 kilometer and I'm like, I'm hating this is so shit. Do you know what? I turn around or walk home. Sometimes I'm doing my little shuffle and I'm thinking, oh, look at me in my body, feel amazing. So if I get it wrong, I just change my mind. It takes a little bit of practice. It takes a lot of practice, but you know what? It might take you longer to get back on the wagon. But once you have yourself as your internal GPS, there's no wagon for you to fall off. And then you can stop repeating this pattern of on the wagon, off the wagon, on the wagon, off. You know, there is no wagon. There's just you and your internal compass. I don't know. I don't think I answered that very well, but
oh, you did. It was absolutely perfect. And I just love to come back and kind of conclude with something really key that you said at the beginning of that piece, which was engaging fully with life. Engaging fully with life, because we human beings aren't meant to be sedentary. You know, no. we weren't built with a computer screen, you know, attached to our chest.
You weren't.
And we know that moving our bodies in whatever non-judgmental way that suits our morphology and state of and age and everything is a good thing. So how would you describe that to not people who have fallen off the wagon, but generally to encourage people to know, believe, and commit to this full engagement, whatever it looks like on any given day, whether it's shuffling, not shuffling, running marathons, whatever, but just to engage, because I think it's a really beautiful, not an idea, it's a beautiful truth.
So, okay. This is based on my value judgment. All right. So I find it incredibly difficult to engage fully with life if my body doesn't at least feel vibrant. So let's be quite honest. My body doesn't look like society says it needs to look, for example. Okay, you know, I don't wear a size 0 or 10 or whatever it is. It doesn't always work exactly the way I need it to work, or I'd like it to because I have high standards for it. But the fact of the matter is that it's my vehicle to engage fully with life. And engaging fully with life is doing what I love. So if doing what I love is like, I don't know, looking at the world from the top of a mountain, well, how am I going to get up the damn mountain if I can't get my body up there, right? And so, how am I going to do my work if I don't have enough energy in order to do it? So the way I look at it is, it's the nourishment. I equate nourishing with the more I nourish, the more energy or vitality I have, the more I'm able to engage completely with life. Whether that is making love at the end of the day, rather than going, oh, I'm too tired to do that now, or whether that is going to an exercise class, or whether that is being able to go to the beach and, you know, walk the first 4 kilometers until there are no people, so they can only be me. I can't do that if I don't have a vehicle that allows me to do that. And so engaging fully with life is, can I taste the food? Can I appreciate how the food makes me feel? Like, is it delicious when I eat it? Or am I just so full because I've been eating all day unnecessarily and that I'm not even enjoying it, you know? Or those little things, though, that is how I can engage. You know, can I feel the air on my skin when I go for my shuffle in the morning? Or am I just so focused on not being able to breathe that it's just so awful? So your body is the vehicle with which you engage with life. And yes, our bodies often have limitations, but you can still engage as fully as you can in the body that you have. My same teacher said, your body is the perfect body to help you fulfill your purpose. And when I first heard that, I was in my 30s, like, oh, what bullshit. I don't have the perfect body. I needed to look and be able to do la, 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 la. And, you know, this might be the wisdom of age, I suppose. Like, you know what, actually, he was so right. If only I'd listened to him, I could have saved myself so much trouble. Because quite frankly, the more I can appreciate that it is the perfect body to help me fulfill my purpose, I don't want to die. I'm going to get to the end of my life with my soul song left unsung. And my soul song requires me to have a body that works well. It has enough energy, it can rest, it can replenish itself, and it's not going to slow me down. So whenever I think about, am I going to do this? Is this going to help me? Is this going to help me fulfill my mission? Or is it not? Actually, it's going to help me fulfill my mission. So I'm going to do it. If it's not essential to my mission today, maybe I won't do it. So again, I can't believe, you know, I used to be such a logical, masculine driven. You just do X, Y, and Z, and then you're going to get Y, right? Like, even when I hear myself, I'm like, oh my God, Loretta, you've been abducted by aliens and they've put someone else in your place.
The wisdom of age, as you said. But I think that is absolutely beautiful overview, is to equate engaging with life with love, with the love of life and the purpose and the mission and everything, which kind of brings us back to the topic of the magazine this month, which is the visionary woman. Right.
So, you know, how are we going to fulfill those visions? We've all got these big visions. I'm certainly not going to be able to fulfill my vision in my pajamas on my couch watching Netflix. No offense to anyone who does that, because I do that too. I can't do that all day because I'm going to die with that song left unsung. I don't want to do that.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
Hallelujah. Amen. That is absolutely gorgeous. And just, I think what a lot of our ladies and audience probably wanted to hear today, leaning forward into it. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us, Loretta, out of that conversation?
I think that my last little piece of, you know, self-care is a really big, it's like a hot topic, you know, and there's all these memes, you know, it's like bubble baths and chocolate cake, and it could be all of those things. But I really think that self-care is the relationship that you have with yourself. And so, you know, again, if you've got a big vision and if you've got a mission to fulfill, the more you are in a deeply connected relationship with you, the more you're going to be able to be in a deeply connected relationship with everything else, because you are life. You are life expressing itself through you. Life is expressing itself through you, Jenny, and it's expressing itself through me. And so I am life. And so, you know, more than like, you know, you got to love yourself and forgive yourself. And yes, it's all of that. But like, you are the most vulnerable person in your life. You're the only person who can't get away from you. Everyone else who doesn't like you, they can avoid you, but you can't avoid you. You are the most vulnerable person. Satguru said this wasn't my wisdom. You're the most vulnerable person in your own life. And so because you are the most vulnerable person in your own life, you need to treat yourself as the most vulnerable person in your own life and have the most committed relationship that you can, because that is going to determine how well you allow life to express itself through you. We're so busy like trying to make it mark in the outside world. You know, you want to try and make that connection in the inside world. Your outside world will reform itself to reflect that. I truly believe that.
Make your mark on the inside world. That's a keeper. Beautiful. Thank you. I could talk about this all day with you. It's one of my favorite topics. Okay, apart from in the magazine, where can we find you, Loretta? Where people can
you can find me on social media. You can find me at Loretta Ferrucci on Facebook, or you can find me at Loretta_Ferrucci on Instagram, or you can find me on my website at lorettaferrucci.co.za.
Fabulous. And what right, okay, this is the gauntlet down. What are you hoping to achieve over the next 3 months before the year ends? What's your sort of like, I'm going for it?
Okay, so I am, so just like in terms of a work ambition. So the first thing I'm going to do is in October, I'm going to take a rest, right? Because I've been working really hard. I need a holiday. And my husband and I are going to this place called the Galagadi Transfrontier Park. It's like right in the border between Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa. There's a game reserve there. There's nothing there. It's a desert. I can't wait. Lots of animals, apparently. But I've spent the last 5 months setting up a sales funnel so that I can actually, based on a book, so that I can generate high quality leads with people who are already engaged with my work and have an idea that they know me, which is what we're all trying to do. I get that. And so my focus really is on refining that process, so that my choice is, my choice for my business funnel is to create a thriving business funnel that connects me with those people who deeply desire to work with me. And to connect myself with myself, hence the trip to the desert also. Okay. So, so that is what I'm aiming for. My year ends in December. So it is a sort of a downward cruise and then a pick it up again in January. But I think if I can do that and I can not get caught up in the busyness and the insanity, then I will say that this is 3 months well done.
Absolutely splendid. Gosh, this is a conversation to listen to and re-listen to. Thank you so much, Loretta. And I'm so glad to be in your world as well, and to have you in mine, thinking from the same hymn sheet.
Right back at you.
And this is Jenny P. We have a whole series of episodes all about a gorgeous holistic autumn upgrade. Look out for them in the Preeminence Rising Facebook group, on YouTube, on LinkedIn. Find me wherever you're listening to this. It might be on the podcast. Come and find me, Jenny Parker Brown, on Facebook, and come and join the community, because we actually do this stuff in our community. We actually do what we talk about, and we support everybody else to do it. So thank you everybody for tuning into this. You can find your copy of the magazine at jenny-p.com/magazine, Jenny with an i-p.com/magazine. And we look forward to helping you and supporting you with all of your life upgrades, whatever that looks like. Thank you.